Hey everyone, welcome to our all hands, community all hands for Algorand Foundation. This installment is, we're going to be talking about our $2 million Algorand Trailblazer Bounty Program. I'm Joanna, I'm the community lead for the Algorand Foundation in Europe. And we're delighted to have our other panelists here today. So we're delighted to have Kevin Owocki, who is the founder of Gitcoin. Give a wave there, Kevin. Hi.
Hey.
And Autumn, who is our community lead in Americas, and Ronan, who is our digital marketing lead. And yeah, so just to kind of give you an idea of like the format of today's talk. So Kevin's going to welcome everyone to Gitcoin because we launched our bounties on Gitcoin platform, which we're delighted about. He's gonna kind of talk about that, and then after about 20 minutes, we'll kind of open up to questions. So I invite you to post any questions that you have in the questions tab on your right. We'd also love. Oh, I can see someone from Venezuela. We also like to hear like where everyone's from. It's really nice. It kind of gives us a little bump. Oh, Chile, cool. Loads of South Americans. Autumn, you must have been promoting down there, were you? Okay, so I guess let's kick it off. Kevin, do you want to take over for a little bit?
Yep. All right. Really excited to be here. And I was just playing with the little emoji reaction thing over here. It's a fun interface. But as people are posting questions or in chat, I'll try to answer those live as we do them.
Oh, cool.
I know now people are putting the scared emoji up. I'm going to be self-conscious during my talk. But yeah, I just wanted to start off by offering a warm welcome to the Algorand community to Gitcoin. I have been following Algorand for a while, and I think that the technology that y'all are built upon and the community that you've built are super strong. And I'm just really excited about what the open internet of money is going to do for the world. And Gitcoin is a place where builders and funders can come together to build and fund the open web. We are just really long open source software, and we want to build a world where open source software developers can get coins for their work in software development. That's why we're called Gitcoin. And we're sort of open source maximalists. If you've been following Gitcoin for a while, you knew that we got our start in the Ethereum community. We actually got our start at Consensus. And I think that Joanna and I worked together at Consensus for a little while. That was pretty fun back in the day. But we're actually open source maximalists. And Ethereum is just kind of where we got our start. And so I'm really excited to kind of cross-pollinate between different blockchain developer communities and offer people opportunities to get coins in exchange for working in the Algorand ecosystem. And so it's just my big belief that open source software provides so much value for the world. I think that there was a study done about 7 or 8 years ago, before the blockchain ecosystems had really grown all that much, that said that $500 billion per year in economic value is created by open source software. And that's just huge. I mean, that much value is created by open source software, but a lot of people don't know how to get jobs in open source. There's no business model for working on open source software. And we think that that's one of the really big asymmetries in the world. If we can find a way for software developers to be able to work for the open internet and be able to get paid to work for the open internet, then I think we're going to see more people leaving their traditional like corporate jobs and going into open source and blockchains. And then we're also going to see people right out of school just go into working on open source and working for the open internet. And so that's sort of like our grand mission and why we're here to help developers in the Algorand community get coins, and also to help people discover the Algorand community and ecosystem. So TLDR, welcome. Excited to be here and excited to be working with you all on some of our stuff. And so I guess I'd be happy to take some questions, or I'd be happy to move on to talking about exactly how you can use Gitcoin to get coins to work on Algorand. Go ahead, Joanna.
Yeah, probably. I think, like since kind of starting, like when you started Gitcoin, like what was kind of like the main hustle, when you guys started out compared to now? Have you seen kind of a massive bump in the last, like year? do you think it's kind of associated to what's happening in the market, or do you just think like, okay, it's blockchain's time? I'd be interested to kind of to hear what you have to say.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that when we were just getting started in 2017, we were just trying to figure out how we could build a market that developers could get coins with. And I'm really proud to show this slide right here, gitcoin.co/results, which is our live stats page. And you can see the amount of funding that we've done for open source software over the last 3 years, but really it's been accelerating over the last couple quarters. And you can see that in Q1 2021, which is the last quarter that we've finished, we did about $6 million worth of funding for open source software, mostly through Gitcoin Grants, which I'll talk a little bit about before. But one of the really hard things, let's see if I can figure out this interface and figure out how to stop screen sharing. There we go. Is like when we first started, we had no developers. And so there was no one for the funders on the platform to fund. And we had no funding, so there was nowhere for the develop. Like, so it's basically like this chicken and the egg problem anytime you're building a marketplace. And I remember Vinod Khosla, I went in to pitch him to like try to get some funding to get it off the ground, and he was like, no one ever beats the chicken and the egg game, and I believe that you'll like. I don't think you'll be able to do it. And I'm like, I had that as a chip over my shoulder in 2017, and I'm happy to say that we just kind of like the main hustle was getting developers to care and then getting funders to care. But then once you have a critical mass, then it all sort of spins. And I'm happy to say that at the time in which Algorand is getting involved in Gitcoin, we already have 150,000 software developers, and we're doing about $5 million per quarter. So hopefully there's sufficient liquidity. I'm not a finance person, but I like LARP as a finance person. Hopefully there's sufficient liquidity of developers on the platform and funding that people can get started right away today.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I think probably just to kind of give the community an idea of, how does Gitcoin work? Like, what are the different parts of Gitcoin that you can kind of get involved with? Whether it's bounties or grants, if you could kind of give us an idea of what that is.
Totally. Yeah. So we are basically just like a place where software developers can get coins for working on open source software. And there's a couple different like configurations of ways that you can do that. We do have a bounties product, which is basically like the formulation of that is that Algorand or a player in the Algorand ecosystem will post a bounty that says like, if you do X, then I will give you Y coins. And we have natively integrated Algo into the Gitcoin platform. And I'm just going to show right here, gitcoin.co/Algorand Foundation. And you can see that there's bounties up where you can earn Algo in exchange for creating a promotional podcast. You guys are looking for Telegram management in, looks like China and Japan. There's content bounties. And then there's also software development bounties. So if you can kind of click into any one of these, and you can see an opportunity to earn 300 Algo, which looks like that's about $250 right now in exchange for writing a short blog post about Algo and the Algo token. So basically the idea here, looks like there's already some submissions to this bounty. But yeah, basically the idea is that, in exchange for doing work, you can get Algo. And basically, that's the idea behind bounties. And we do organize bounties not only to be like a 24/7 always on market for work, but also we do hackathons and are planning on doing several hackathons with the Algorand community over time. And hackathons are just great because everyone starts work at the same time. There's a community sort of kickoff and community sort of vibes all throughout the event. And then you all submit work and then get paid out prizes over time. So it's like a lightning strike for doing bounties together. And yeah, I'm really excited about the volume of bounties that y'all are going to put through Gitcoin over the next several months. I think that hopefully you meet lots of great builders through that.
Yeah, we're really excited, because it's like we've kind of allocated like $2 million over 2 years. So,
amazing.
What's really nice is, and now that you kind of went through them there, we have like marketing bounties, and then we have our dev bounties as well, and making sure that we kind of get a broad spectrum. So it's kind of an open marketplace for anyone that wants to kind of get to know like about Algorand, or how do you get involved. So it's kind of a nice way to kind of
Yeah.
learn more about Algorand. But what you know, like, and the other thing, you know, that we're excited about too is, you know, we're kind of jumping in now, and it's really nice because we kind of get involved with the hackathon and see what's happening, and then, you know, it's really nice because we can see this partnership progressing as well, you know, in an organic way. So we're not trying to like, we need to do a million things before the end of 2021. It's really nice, and we're already. I mean, Autumn, you've been kind of like looking at them as well. We're seeing some really good results, and I know the dev team, who by the way are speaking tomorrow. Our DevRel team are speaking tomorrow on your platform, so we're excited about that. So yeah, so your community gets to meet them, and I know that they've been really excited about some of the bounties that people who've gone in and started working on them. So it's great to see.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to interject since Joanna was mentioning some of the bounties. It's been a really fun process to go through and think up the different kind of marketing and content bounties, and we're already seeing some really interesting submissions. And I'm just excited to see, we have a very talented, passionate community, and I'm really excited to see kind of their visions for the way that they perceive our community and our industry as a whole. I'm really excited to see those visions come to life in these bounties. So bring them on, y'all.
Amazing, yeah, and I'm excited. You know, bounties I think are a really amazing primitive for people to get to know each other and to test out what it's like working together. I can't tell you how many times I've done a coding interview and it's like, what would it look like if we hypothetically worked together? And one of the things I really like is that like we can just like kind of test out what it would be like to have a working relationship for a small paid engagement, and then relationships can progress from there. And so that incremental building of trust over time is really something that we're trying to facilitate for software developers, and it's a way I think it's a way to build a career, to build a network. And so I'll be curious to see what comes back, and if you retain people from the Gitcoin platform, you take them off of the Gitcoin platform and you all walk off into the sunset together, nothing would make me more happy. We call those Gitcoin alumni when they found their next professional opportunity through Gitcoin. Exactly.
So that's, you know, as you're saying, kind of people kind of jump in on bounties, and I think probably if people who are on the call who aren't already part of our community and they're, you know, from Gitcoin and they're already kind of Gitcoiners, you know, we have also, you know, it's really nice. We're gonna getting people started on to work on bounties, especially like the tech bounties, and then we have our grants program, like the Algorand Grants program. And so that's kind of like the next place. So you've kind of started to build it. We know that there's like, you know, we validated that you can, you know, produce this piece of work. And then, you know, you can apply for like the Algorand grants. So that's kind of a nice next step and a segue to kind of like just kind of increase your engagement with Algorand, and there's, you know, like a massive fund there, so it's great. But also, you know, we're excited like to in the future. I mean, I know it's kind of in the pipeline, but we are going to be doing a part. It's like, you know, integrating with grants on Gitcoin too, and we're really excited to see how that works. And Kevin, if you could kind of just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, totally. Well, the first thing I'll say is that Gitcoin Grants, which is the mechanism, another way that you can get coins, is basically like the idea here is like, oh, I'm already doing X in the Algorand community, and I'd like to raise coins for that. So as opposed to bounties where someone specifies what you're working on, if this is something where you're already doing great work in the Algorand community, it's an opportunity for you to crowdfund in exchange for your work in the Algorand community. And so this is gitcoin.co/grants. Basically, the idea is that it's a crowdfunding platform for public goods. So that basically just means like community goods, something that benefits the entire Algorand community or open internet writ large is the kind of thing that we would do on Gitcoin Grants. And basically, the idea here is that, let's see, maybe I'll take a look at some of the live grants that we've got going on today. That basically the idea is that anyone can go in and create a grant with a image, a title, a description of what you're working on, and then you can hook up your Algo account to it, and people can fund that grant in order to support the work that you're doing. So in this example right here, I would be giving 5 DAI, which is basically $5 to this Creel Environments Gitcoin grant right here. And the idea here is that it's a crowdfunding campaign that augments the grant administrators in any ecosystem. And this is a key point. Gitcoin Grants augments the grants that are already going on in the ecosystem. And I think Algorand Grants is the one that the Algorand Foundation runs. And the idea is not to replace any other sort of grant administrator, but to be able to augment that with crowdfunding. And so the really special thing about Gitcoin Grants is that we're using this thing called Quadratic Funding in order to help the Algorand community build an ecosystem in a democratic way. And basically the way that works is that this is just this calculator that we built in order to explain the power of quadratic funding. Basically what we do is we raise a matching pool, in this example matching pool of $50,000, and we give that out contemporaneously, which is just a fancy way of saying at the same time as a crowdfunding campaign. And basically the idea is that in the crowdfunding campaign, the more distinct users that contribute to a grant, the higher the matching amount will be. So as opposed to like one-to-one matching, where if 2 grants both got $10, they would both get $10 in matching. With quadratic funding, the grants that are supported by a wider swath of the Algorand community are going to get more and more of the funding. And what's really powerful about this, and I'm just so excited about this to be working with you all on this, is that a very small donation can be have a match that's tens or hundreds of times bigger than the actual donation. So it actually creates this incentive for the community to really support itself from a bottoms up way. And that's why I'm really excited to be bringing Gitcoin Grants to the Algorand community, is because it's a way for a community to support itself. And over time, we're going to build up a preference map of what the everyday members of the Algorand community want to support. And I think that just understanding what's got the broadest bottoms up democratic support is a really interesting piece of data to have. And, hopefully that's something that can just make the whole Algorand ecosystem stronger. So anyway, that's how Gitcoin Grants works. And I think that the first Gitcoin Grants Algorand campaign is going to be going live in the next couple quarters. So look out for an announcement about that.
Cool. Actually, I have a question on that. Sorry, I've probably asked this question 5 times before. So like what happens, so let's just say you've got like 3 projects in the Algorand ecosystem, right? Or 5 projects, and 2 of them are like really exciting. So if like, do the community vote for those? Like if, let's just say 2 of those projects get like, 50% of all the votes. What is the kind of essence behind quadratic funding? Is it to support projects that wouldn't necessarily have already gotten supported, or is it, are you sure, or is it this like, crowdfunding saying, I want to support the 2 high potential projects instead of the 3 that aren't that great? How does
so basically that's a really great question. So basically, it's Gitcoin sort of ethos to be as credibly neutral as possible. And we just want to provide a Schelling point for people to find these projects. And so the sort of idea with quadratic funding is that the crowd is figuring out, let's say you have 100 Algorand grants that are out there. The community is finding what's most interesting to them and then funding those projects. And we kind of don't want to put our fingers on the scale in terms of which projects are funded. And we kind of want the community organically to figure out what's important to it. If you have 3 different projects that you're working on in the Algorand community, then posting 3 grants is something that we've seen been done before and been super successful. And sometimes people get feedback about which of their projects the community actually cares about, because you'll see a lot more contributions going to one grant than to another. So does that answer your question, Joanna, or did I miss that?
No, it does.
Cool.
Yeah. And what's, Odin, do you have any questions? Sorry, I feel like I'm like hogging the questions.
Well, actually, we have a couple questions from the viewers, which I thought we could run through if you guys.
Sure.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, one that I wasn't positive about is what kind of wallet integrations, and that may be more of a question for our tech team. But what kind of wallet integrations will work?
Yeah, I think actually sorry, Kevin, you're going to answer that.
Yeah, so I'll have to take a look at what we did with Bounties, but I know that we've got native algo integration into the Bounties, and I think that the plan is to see how that's going, and then to iterate from there, depending on the user feedback from there. But yeah, Johanna, do you know what we've seen so far?
Sorry, it's actually just it's in process. So we're actually having a meeting about it tonight. You know, because I think the first point was, you know, this first like milestone was, you know, get Bounties launched. You can like receive algos, you know, as payment for the Bounties, and then we're in talks with you know, Algo wallet, so to integrate wallet into that. So that's kind of the next step.
Great. Okay, thank you. And actually, a question that I had, I meant to interject it a little while ago, but I'm curious if, do you have any, I'm really curious to see what kind of growth in terms of developer community that the teams who have integrated with Gitcoin have seen. Have they been able to measure at all? Because if, you know, you guys have a community of 150,000 developers, that's a really significant group. And so I'm curious what kind of growth your other integration partners have seen.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, like I should just be I should just be totally honest that 150K is the number of registered users that we have. We actually do like 70 or 80K monthly active users, and just
That's
the metrics nerd.
Yeah.
Well, the metrics nerd in me likes to just be clear that like if your users aren't active, and anyway, so basically, you know, it's funny. Have y'all seen the Electric Capital Dev report? Where they basically take a look at the GitHub of various communities in the blockchain space and like how active their developer communities are. So we actually basically when they put out their most recent report in December 2020, I'm just going to share my screen over here and I'm going to show you that we actually went in with some of the players in the blockchain space, and we overlaid the data that we saw in the Electric Capital Dev report with Gitcoin events, and we actually saw some substantial like increases in their developer activity right after the Gitcoin events that they did. And so we're hoping to be able to catch that lightning in a bottle and reproduce that and create more momentum for the Algorand community. So I think it's fairly certain that we can send developers in your direction. And you know, right now we're looking to really just make sure that not only are we sending developers in your direction, but they're staying and building in the Algorand community after we've sent them over there. That's sort of like the next thing that we're working on now that we've proven that we send developers over there. But yes, monthly active developers is the number that I like to track.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. We love those charts.
Totally. Yeah, the data nerd in me thinks that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So put a lot of effort into that. But yeah, I'll be curious to see. We should pull that data after the first Algorand, the first couple Algorand events, and just take a look at what the numbers look like on this side.
Hey, I actually see a question from Enrico Calandro, and I see Autumn. So do you need to be an expert developer? So, you know, we're working really closely with our DevRel team in the foundation, but also in Algorand Inc. To really kind of curate content for, you know, whether you're Web 2 coming into Web 3, you know, you're Web 3 early. So and really breaking it out. And so I guess kind of bear with us. You know, we're realizing like as we get to know our developers better, you know, what kind of content is tailored to you at what stage, because, you know, it's different. You know, you might already be a Web3 developer and, you know, you're not familiar with you know, Algorand, and yeah, so we're working on that.
And there's a couple other questions. Should I call out some of the questions from the? So this is a good question from. I don't want to mispronounce this. Gitcoin Token. Their question is: the price of Algorand has been very volatile recently, which causes bounty rewards to significantly change, right? Especially for bounties that have longer deadlines. How is this problem addressed? So my response to that is we will be reviewing our bounties regularly at every level, including price payout. And if we find that the amount of work the bounty requires is inconsistent with the payout, we will be adjusting that. Right. Hopefully that answers that. And let's see. Kevin, how regularly will bounties be added, updated, and reviewed? Let's see. Yeah, are we right now? Oh, sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. I think kind of it's probably in the background. We've created a bounties team within the foundation within the Algorand, and we meet regularly every 2 weeks, and so we'll be closing things out. We're gonna be make a really big effort to keep on top of it. There's nothing worse than redundant bounties out there. We want to keep it really clean and tidy, especially for you. And if if we see kind of, and I guess Kevin, this is probably a question as well to you. Bounties that aren't active and people aren't really that's it's really good feedback. Why aren't they? They're probably just not good bounties. we'll remove them. So yeah. Or people can post questions underneath and say, hey, I don't understand that, and feel free to comment if they're utter trite.
Totally. It's all experimentation. I'd say that a lot of I'm pretty progressive with the bounties that I put out there because I like trying new things, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but that's fine because we failed and we learned something. And as long as I pay people for their time, I feel like there's no harm done. So yeah, it'll be a learning process. And Joanna and I go way back from our consensus days, and we view this as a long-term relationship. So I'm sure we'll be learning over time. But yes, so I can't promise anything, but hopefully the bounties will get better and we'll get into a cadence over time together.
Yeah, it's definitely early days still.
And please do bear with us. This beginning of the integration has been very full and lots of questions from the community and submissions. So please bear with us as we sort of get our footing, and we will become faster.
Yeah, it's only Ronan that's half machine. The rest of us are just mere mortals.
No.
Are there any other questions there actually that you've seen?
Well, another one which we don't have an excellent answer for yet is, will the bounties be available in languages other than English? And so right now we do have bounties in English and Chinese, and we are evaluating basically which languages we can accept, because basically if it's a content-based language, someone on our team has to be able to evaluate it, has to be able to read it. So it's sort of based on team bandwidth and language, capability at this point, and also whether or not that language is, one that we have a community in. So yeah, again, that's another one. Please bear with us. We would love to have the full rainbow of every language, representing what's happening in the Algorand community, and we'll get there eventually. But
yeah, so. And we have just add on what Autumn's saying there. We have a lot of our team are in Hong Kong, and we've got a team member in Singapore and in Shanghai. And Autumn, Summer. So you've got Autumn and Summer. Mm-hmm. Is our community lead over in China, and it's actually the Chinese bounties that you see there are ones that Summer has kind of compiled and put together, and I guess it's kind of testament. We have quite a big community over there, and Autumn kind of sees the community growing in South America, so it's really nice to see these communities growing. But we also need to figure out how we pull people in for those kind of reviewing or evaluation of those bounties. And because we do have people who are active within our communities, our community champions, for instance, can maybe pull in to review these. They don't know that yet, but maybe they can. And maybe that language barrier, because we want to create this borderless economy, and language is a huge part of that. So
totally. Yeah, and I'll just speak for the Gitcoin side. We're considering translating the site sometime in the next year or so. So no promises, but the translation is going to be a little bit of a massive undertaking. We tried to do auto translate a year or two ago, and people didn't like that. So we're just trying to figure out when to schedule that from our UI side as well.
Oh, that's exciting. That's cool. That's a massive endeavor. Good luck with all that.
Yep.
Kevin, where do you kind of where do you see kind of Gitcoin going in the next couple of years? Well, actually, sorry, not years, because that's like decades in blockchain terms.
Yeah. My basic view on what we're doing here is that the Internet of Information changed the way the world works, because now computers could send information across a computer network, and anything that relied on information in society was changed by the Internet. So news, entertainment, politics were all changed by the Internet of Information. And now the allegory is that we have the Internet of Value. So now computers can send value across the computer network without a central intermediary. And so that's going to change everything about things that rely on money in society. Well, what relies on money? Well, a lot. A lot of people in this space are really focused on decentralized finance and investments and speculation and gambling. And I think all that stuff is cool, but I'm a software engineer through and through. And so what I'm focused on is building a substrate for jobs and open source, because that's what I know. And so I would really like to see Gitcoin having more of an impact on open source software developer and the business models of open source. And then hopefully we can take that momentum and it can expand outwards into helping traditional software development, and then hopefully other categories of workers in the world. And it's all about, for me, financial empowerment. If we want blockchains to go mainstream, then I'm a big believer that hitting people, like most 95% of the world, their financial lives is their jobs, not their investments. And so we want to give people the opportunities to earn, to learn, to connect with each other, to build careers in the blockchain-based ecosystem, even if they don't have a bunch of capital. And right now we're doing $5 million per quarter, which I'm really proud of, but open source creates $500 billion per year in economic value. So hopefully we just have more of a dent, more funding opportunities for open source software developers is kind of where we're going. And so that's sort of like my big dream with Gitcoin. And I think you asked me where we're going in the next couple of years, and then you walked that back. I would encourage more people to have a long-term time focus, Joanna, because I think the internet took 30 years to play out. And if more people had a longer-term time focus, we would have had less like pets.coms and more Amazons or more Googles. And so I encourage people to have a multi-year time horizon in this space.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. There's actually some really good questions here. Cool. So Mustafa, we're developing protocol agnostic solution, Algorand included. Is this something Algorand Foundation willing to fund, or are you looking only for algo solutions? No, 100%. Like, we truly believe, rising tide, I keep on saying this, of blockchain, Algorand, we will look into kind of interoperability projects. So, please, I kind of invite you to either, apply for Algorand Grants, the Algorand Foundation Grants, and keep, or even make some recommendations and, post any kind of comments you have here on that. If you want to kind of talk about it further, please get in touch with us. I'm happy to share our email afterwards. Another question I thought was quite good is the Grants Round 10 active GF round for all grants, or just a subset of grants?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So basically, I think that I posted somewhere up here the matching allocation proposal for Grants Round 10, which has the full details. But I think that the answer to your question is that we've got it looks like 150K for infrastructure grants, 125K for DApp grants, and then community grants, and then there's some for NFTs and Asia regional. So basically there's subcategories of grants is the way that we're running it for grants round 10. And then if you fit in one of those subcategories, then you get to be you get the access to the matching. So that's basically the way it's worked with Gitcoin Grants round 10, which is mostly an Ethereum centric round. Like I said, I'm an open source maximalist, not any sort of blockchain maximalist. And we're going to be working with the Algorand Foundation when we do our first grants round to figure out exactly how to define the rules for that engagement. And so I wouldn't over-index on grants round 10 because we'll be working with the Algorand Foundation to set up the categories and the matching amounts for we'll call it Algorand round 1. I actually call it round 0 because we zero index things in this space.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joanna, we'll be working with you on that.
Yeah, and it's really nice because after with these bounties, we'll have a nice organic feeling for what we should be focusing on, as you kind of say, Kevin, versus kind of like picking it out of the air and going, this is what we're going to focus on. So it's nice.
Totally.
Thank you, Kevin. And I have another great one, which actually maybe Joe can answer this. This was from the webinar submission form. Can we raise a bounty request through Gitcoin, which we feel would benefit the ecosystem, but is not a listed bounty?
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. Actually, sorry, Ronan, you're on mute. Ronan, you're on mute. Sorry.
No worries.
Still on mute. But what I think you might be saying though is that we are going to invite the community to submit bounties that we haven't thought of or that you feel that are good bounties to put up, so that you can kind of engage. Give me thumbs up if I'm on there. Yeah, thumbs up. Great. Good. Cool. Any other questions that I haven't answered? Sorry.
Here's another one from John Moshier. Can we help with integration? Are there bounties to assist with integration? It's a great question.
That's something we'd be interested in, to be honest. Yeah, I think that Joanna, maybe you and I should jam on the current state of the integration. If there's a way that we can pull in someone, then I think that eating our own dog food is one of the ways that most interesting things happen. But Joanna and I should sync on that. Yeah,
that's a good one. I think we have a call tomorrow. It might be a good place. I'll touch base with Scott on that. I actually saw a really nice question up here. I'm in third year computer science student. Is there any way a newbie like me can get involved with the Algorand community? I'm super excited about Algorand and blockchain and would love to be a part of this movement. Actually, I thought you were going to talk about Gitcoin. Sorry, but so we invite you. I guess the first point of kind of contact to kind of engage with our community is to join our newsletter, and that kind of gives you a good insight of what's happening. Ronan kind of does a really good effort on keeping everything up to date with any of our events that are taking place. So like tomorrow, we're talking on Gitcoin's platform, and if you are actually a computer science student, this is a really good place for you to meet the developer relations team, from the Algorand Foundation and from the Inc. And they'll be kind of like talking you through, okay, well, this is how this is what this is what's available. We have our developer portal, an outline of what our tech ecosystem looks like, how you can jump in, how you can get supported, and they'll be doing a Q&A towards the end. So there's a good opportunity to learn there. And then also probably a good way is to also join the Discord, the Algorand Discord channel. Actually, Ronan, if you wouldn't mind putting in the link.
I dropped the link in, and on the community page, it links the different social channels as well to follow.
Perfect.
So it's all there.
Brilliant. I think if there's any questions that I've missed, I don't think so.
Not so much a question, Joanna, but just really quickly, I'd seen Kevin and sort of replied in the chat to Eric, but I think Eric had a question around how long a bounty is set for, and is it worthwhile if there's no set timeline and you can see someone's actively put a lot of hours into working a bounty, should they still apply?
Yeah, so on Gitcoin, we've got a couple different types of bounties, and I think that this is actually a super important point. So I'm glad that that we're talking about it now. So a traditional typed bounty is just like a one-to-one monogamous relationship between a contributor and the bounty poster. So the idea is that you start work and then you're the only person on that track. And then the funder can choose to accept your work, or if it's not working out, then remove you from the bounty. And then we have like cooperative bounties, where the idea is that multiple people can work at the same time and multiple people are going to be paid out. And then there's contest bounties, where multiple people can work at the same time, but only one of them is going to be paid out. And so understanding those different bounty archetypes is super important, because there are some things that are appropriate to work on spec, and there are some things that I don't think are appropriate to work on spec. For example, a security bounty is a great example of something that, like, a lot of times people only want to pay out if an exploit is found, and that's a great contest bounty. But I'm a big believer that, like, designers, for example, like if you put in time to make a design, then you should probably be paid out at least something. And so a lot of my design bounties I'll do as a cooperative bounty. And so it just kind of depends on that bounty archetype. I think that Eric was asking about a specific question. This stateful smart contract to create Algorand to create an Algorand standard asset was posted as a contest bounty. And he was just wondering, well, if it's a contest with a year left, is it worth my time working on this now? And so I think that we'll basically have to ask the person who posted that bounty exactly when they were going to evaluate the contest entries, because I think a year is probably a long time to wait for your work to be paid out.
Yeah, we're actually, and this is kind of part of, what Autumn was saying with our teething. So just as I say, like, bear with us. We're actually having a meeting tonight, and if we feel like if any of the bounties, aren't like it is not. We do not want to be annoying any developers working on our bounties. So we'll be like tweaking them to make sure that they make sense from a payout standpoint. I know that the DevRel team were very conscious of also, like when a tech bounty is actually posted, that they wanted to have like, a band of payment. So, if they felt that like a serious amount of work actually went into it or went above and beyond, that there was that ability to pay a little bit more or whatever it was. So that's one thing I would say about the Algorand ecosystem. It is fair. On Autumn, I know that we try and make sure that, developers are, just remunerated for any work that they put in. Actually on because we're probably going to wrap up in a second. Kevin, a couple of weeks ago, do you want to kind of tell the community here like about the Gitcoin token and what's exciting about it? Just give a little bit of info about it.
Totally. Yeah. So Gitcoin, for the longest time, I had to tell people, oh, there's no token. We're just focused on our community and our product. And I think that was really the right choice from 2017 to 2020. But one of the things that started happening is that as we were doing more and more volume through the platform, and I showed you the graph, you've seen that the last quarter has been quite intense for us. We started having all these governance problems like coming out of our ears on the platform. Like, for example, someone says like, hey, this grant doesn't line up with the rules of the grant round, or someone makes up multiple accounts and contributes to Gitcoin grants. And, I just showed you that the grants that have the most accounts contributing to them get the most matching amounts. So we have these governance problems like coming out of the ears, starting in late 2020. And one of the things that we wanted to do was we didn't want to be opinionated about the technology that we were building. We wanted other people to decide what to do about the governance stuff. And we would just build the most efficient, credibly neutral platform for developers to get paid. And the community can decide what to do about the disputes. And so one of the things that I really believe strongly is that big tech got it wrong when they just had these like centralized boards of experts that were deciding governance disputes on their platform. We wanted to push that power out to the community. The consent of the governed is the only valid basis for governance. Is one of the sort of like things that I've been learning. And so the idea was to take the Gitcoin token and do a retroactive distribution of anyone who has earned on the platform, and then give them governance rights, which is what the GTC token is, by launching GTC. And so I'm super proud that we've put the hands of the governance of Gitcoin Grants, at least to start, into the hands of the community. And we've had cross-chain integrations for about 18 months now. So this isn't just the ETH community that holds GTC. It's all sorts of different blockchains. And the idea is to allow the community to govern Gitcoin. And hopefully that creates a more just environment for workers as the platform grows. And so that was the launch of GTC and Gitcoin DAO about a month ago that we did. And we're looking for new ways to build governance utility into GTC, and to build a DAO of community stewards who handle the disputes on the platform and handle all the governance questions on the platform. And we can just be focused on the software development. But in terms of the Algorand engagement, we're definitely, as we deepen our relationship, interested. Like right now, I think we're probably going to try to have training wheels and probably hide a lot of the dirty governance problems to start. But as we start, building up more trust in everything, I think that getting y'all involved in governance will be an important milestone as you guys deploy this $2 million. So yeah, that's the Gitcoin token, past, present, and future. Happy to take any questions.
Cool, Kevin. Thanks a million for because it's really exciting. The launch of the Gitcoin token, and so thanks for kind of outlining what that means.
Totally.
There's a question here. Can you talk a little more about an Algorand grant round would look like? What would that mean? Algorand directly funds projects or provides the matching grants? Is there a good place to start discussing potential project ideas to see if there's interest in funding it? Okay, so that's kind of two parts. So just to kind of be really clear, so the Algorand Foundation has our grants. We have our grants. The grants that will kind of exist on Gitcoin will be a subset. You know what I mean? There will be some grants that we will be putting onto the Gitcoin grants to see what kind of community interest is in funding those projects. So they'll kind of be in tandem. They'll be working, the Algorand Foundation grants are not going away. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And just logistically from our standpoint, what we like to do with the Ethereum community, and it's up to Joanna and the Algorand Foundation to decide what they want to do. But what I would recommend is doing a Gitcoin grants round every quarter, and we'll start small and then we'll ramp it up over time. But the idea is to eventually have the grants round consistently happening so that you can expect that it's happening, so that you can augment your behavior and just work on open source in the Algorand community, and to have it be sufficient enough that it makes a decent impact on people's ability to earn by working in the Algorand community. So to answer your question, Eric, my recommendation would be to do quarterly rounds that are big enough that that they're impactful for people. But stay tuned. We'll hopefully be announcing something in the next quarter or so. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think that's we might just wrap it up. Kevin, just a massive thanks. I know that it's a really busy time in the morning for you. We as parents understand that. We really appreciate you doing that. And it was also lovely to meet your kids earlier on.
Totally. It didn't interrupt the live stream, so the audience didn't see my kids coming in.
It wouldn't have mattered if they had, so it's all good.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. And I mean this truly, that I'm really excited about what's happening in the Algorand community, and a warm welcome from the Gitcoin community to Algorand. I'm really looking forward to growing open source together. So thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks a million. And just a really quick reminder that our DevRel team will be on Gitcoin's event tomorrow. So have a look at that.
I'll post that on Twitter later on as well.
Oh yeah, we'll post that. So Ronan's going to post it on Twitter later on. And also next week, then we're doing our office hours for Algorand, and we'll be talking a little bit about Gitcoin too. Great, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.